How lovely on the mountains are the feet of them who bring good news, announcing peace and proclaiming news of happiness. I have good news for you, and this is Just Ask, and it's a program carefully designed for you to ask all the questions, the unusual questions, never been asked questions, and of course, those that bother on your mind as a believer or an unbeliever about Christianity. All of these and more will bring you guests who are experienced, they'll share their thoughts with you, but remember, the conversation starts here but does not end here. It goes on our socials. Remember to follow us on our Facebook page, Dominion Television, on Instagram and Twitter, My Dominion TV. Remember to like and share all our programs. This is Just Ask. My name is Kokulimo. Welcome back from the break. This is Just Ask. My name is Kokulum, and I'm truly grateful. Please stay with us. We are bringing you conversations on that matter. Remember to also follow us on our socials, Dominion Television on Facebook, Mind Dominion TV, Twitter, and Instagram. Well, my guests are seated. Are you ready? Let me take you on this journey. I am ready. Daniel Kojo DeLong is my first guest, and of course, joined also by Mark Achichobi. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed. It's good to have both of you. All of these is done from studio here, and of course to the streets as well, where we draw the cameras close to you. You are going to be putting to ask the questions, what you think about Christianity and all the other unusual questions. This is Just Ask. My name is Kokulumo. Let's take a break. When we come back, the show and the conversation begins. Thanks for staying with us and welcome back from the break. You're still watching Dominion TV. Thank you very much for staying with us. As I indicated first, our questions are not from Ink Studio. We go out there. And so let's toss to the very first question. Just Ask hits the streets.
Hello, pastors. My name is Emmanuel. I want to find out, what does the Bible say about sex before marriage?
All right, welcome back. And that's our very big question for today. What does the Bible say about sex before marriage? Sex before marriage. A very controversial one, critical to the livelihood, even as a Christian. Who do I start off with? Let me start off with Daniel on this one. So the big one people ask these questions, exactly where in the Bible can we find that? And once we cannot find it, is it allowed?
Okay, so let me make it this way.
Right.
There is no explicit quotation in the Bible that says that do not have sex before marriage.
Okay.
Is that clear?
It's not written.
It's not written.
All right.
It's not there. You can see, behold, thou shalt not have sex before marriage. It's not there.
I get that.
So let's be clear on that.
We're clear.
Now here is the thing. The question is, sex was created by God. And Bible says that whatever God created is good. So sex is really good. Now here is the thing. Why are we saying that it is a sin then to have sex before marriage? Sex was created by God, and he continued to say, therefore shall a man leave his father's house and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one. The two becoming one is the two having an intercourse. Now here's the thing. Therefore sex is made only, strictly, for when the two have become one, and a man has cleaved to the wife.
I see.
That's it.
Okay, we'll come back to that, and I'm going to be putting some quotations to both of you when I come back to you. Let me go now to Mark. Would you agree with him?
Definitely. Of course, you won't find "thou shalt not have sex" in the Bible, but what the Bible does establish is that sex is moral when it happens within the context of marriage.
Okay.
And any other sex or satisfaction of sexual pleasure that happens outside that context is immoral.
I see.
So when Jesus was questioned about marriage and divorce in those days, in Matthew 19, he was clear. He quoted Genesis, went back to in the beginning, God made them male and female. And then this is what he said, the man will leave father and mother and be cleaved to his wife. So the Bible, although the Bible doesn't state thou shalt not, what the Bible does is that qualifies any satisfaction of sexual pleasure outside marriage as immoral. Hence, sex before marriage, which is happening, of course, outside marriage, also becomes a sin and immoral.
How about what it says in Exodus 22 verses 16? If a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and lies with her, he must pay a dowry for her to be his wife. What do you make of this?
You see, when there's an error, there must be a correction to the error.
Okay.
And God is all-knowing.
Right.
And he knows very well that definitely, as man and as imperfect as we are, there will be errors. So he has given you antidotes to those errors. So this, what is stated in Exodus,
if a man seduces a virgin,
it's not an intentional sin. You know, where you have made up your mind that I'm going to do it, and whatever comes out, so be it. And because the Bible is saying, so I'm going to do it. If the girl gets pregnant, I will do what the Bible is saying.
That's not it. That's not
what it is. No.
Okay.
That is when it comes to pregnancies and all that, I don't want to use the word by mistake.
Okay.
Because when God is giving a child, it's not by mistake. Right. But if by any means you get somebody pregnant out of wedlock, which is tantamount to happen, as imperfect as you are, this is what you should do. This is the appropriate thing you should do as a child of God. When
so
you totally
you think a lot of people are using this as an excuse?
Yeah, but they are using this and they're not repenting. They're using this, they're not remorseful. They're not repentant. So therefore there's an ulterior motive. And any kind of sin that you do, a preconceived sin, I know.
Mark?
This is the beauty of the law right here. So what the essence of this law is to let people understand that if you are going to sleep with anybody, it means you want to get married to that person, and you happen to do the wrong thing. You did the sex before the marriage, so we will help you. We will put you together. And note what the law really says. If a man seduces a virgin, okay, so there is a point of consensus in this, all right? Of course, with the seduction, and then the lady would agree. So what the law is trying to do is that if you don't want to marry somebody, you don't throw advances at the person. But if you throw advances at the person, then we will force you to get married. So the law is put there to prevent people from transgression in this manner. So it still upholds the fact that sex should happen within marriage. And if you force yourself, if you force yourself to have sex with somebody, no matter how young you are, so far as the person is up to the age of bearing fruit, you will get pregnant. You have to bear the consequences of it. Your body might not be ready, but you will bear the consequence of it.
It's difficult nowadays to talk about abstinence to the young person because there's a lot of things in their faces, pushing through social media and all the narratives that is being thrown around. Now, 1 Thessalonians 4:3, the will of God is that we abstain. How do we as people, probably for people who are married now, they've also gone through it, maybe they had sex before marriage. How do we change the narrative now to begin to speak to young people, not to indulge in it? And how do we say it then?
You see, here's the thing. We as humans, or we as people who are married or who are grown, let me put it that way, as parents, as guardians, we have failed in certain ways.
Have we?
Yes. And here's the thing. You see, our society frowns on sexual immorality.
Okay. And
because the society frowns on it, kids are growing. They are learning on social media. Okay? If I tell you what my 7-year-old boy tells me at home, the English he speaks, I sometimes go back to the dictionary to check for myself. And these guys are growing day in, day out. They see things, they watch things, they are smart. And yet you want that child to know about sex when he's 18. When the child comes to you and asks you, Daddy, what is it? Then we coin any kind of name for it. Meanwhile, the child did not just come and ask you, Daddy, what is it? He came to ask you because he has heard that it is this. So he wants to confirm if it is actually what he heard or there's something else.
So you say we should expose the children?
You see, because those times, there is no phone. There is no social media. There is nothing you go on. So when your father tells you that here is your nose, you keep it.
Okay.
But now, when the father tells you, yes, she knows, somebody's on social media saying this is elbow.
Okay.
So when I come and say, Daddy, what is this? And tell me it's a nose, I'm like, okay, wait.
So really, immorality must not be taught in the church. It has to begin from the home.
From home. So that from the onset, I have a 17-year-old child that we adopted. She came to us when she was 15. As soon as she entered, my wife started talking to her about sex, about what she should expect, about men coming to her, about young guys coming to her, people who are younger than her, people who are her age, older men, people as old as her grandfather coming to her. My wife was just there like that every day in her face.
But Mark, wouldn't you, I agree with Daniel, and then I disagree. Don't you think that a lot of knowledge, sometimes it's good to stay in the dark? Because, hey, if they expose you to knowledge, you could want to try it at some point. So sometimes ignorance is good. Let's walk through that.
Well, yes, I think it's 1 Corinthians 8 that says that knowledge puffs up. You know, knowledge can puff something up in you, which is not right. And he used the word, he said expose. I think the proper word would be to educate. Education expose within parameters.
Okay.
So there are grades of exposure. I mean, you didn't learn the multiplication table at crèche.
Okay.
They waited for you to get to a particular stage. So education is important. At the end of the day, when we are educating them step by step with what they should know at which point in time, like he's saying, then they'll be aware of what is around, what is good, what is bad. But
how about
we hide
then,
them, that's it.
Right. How about then we go from, that's the beginning days and the ages. Now there's a young man who is 18 years and above, still a virgin, a young man, a young lady. Yet they are being exposed. They are feeling like wanting to do it. What do we do to them?
His friends are telling him that he's John. What are you telling him to?
As a parent.
As a parent. Because there's an identity now.
Okay.
And identity can change the mindset of people. Clearly, Goliath came to the people of Israel for 40 days and he kept telling them that I am the Philistine and you are servants of Saul, a man that has been rejected by God. So
and at some point they started believing it.
For 40 days, they were in fear.
Continuously.
Until David came and said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Another identity of the Goliath.
Okay.
He's an uncircumcised Philistine.
Right.
Who is worrying these children of God.
Right.
So there's now a clear, okay. First we felt we were servants of Saul, but now we have been told we are children of God.
Right.
So so identity is key. They are calling your son John in school. People go and they come and they are talking about, you see, because when friends decide to talk about the things they do and the excitement they get from it, if you are not getting correct and appropriate education, like Mark is saying, from another side, you want to go and try it.
Right.
And a lot of people have gone into these things not because they are spoiled children, but because they wanted to explore.
Of course.
And they are exploring out of fear.
Out of fear?
Yes. This is the thing. He's exploring out of fear because he knows that dad will kill me if he hears this. So for the fear, instead of telling dad, that this is what my friends are telling me, and I don't know what it is, what you used to say, he can't even go and talk about it because in our society, we say.
How about people who say, you know, you need to start praying about these things. Pray about it. Mark, pray about it. The children, so that they don't go wayward. Pray about it. Mark.
You know, when it comes to sexual immorality, the Bible prescribed an action. Run, flee, prevent, avoid.
I get that.
You see, so Jesus says something beautiful, and then this is what has helped me as a young person. In Matthew 5, 27, 28, says that, you have heard it said that do not commit adultery, but I say to you, anybody who thinks or lusts after somebody in his mind has already committed adultery with that person. It starts from what is in the mind, okay? If you want to stay from sex, check what you feed your mind, what you watch. Because if you lose the battle here, if you allow contamination here, what you watch, what you hear, what you see, your company, what you discuss, it's just a matter of time. The action would follow. So go ahead and Job 31:1, he says, I've made a covenant with my eye not to look upon any woman lustfully. So listen, if you're walking around the street as a young man and you see a lady, listen, you're not the minister of looking at ladies. Don't look back. Don't take a second glance. Just look forward.
Wow.
Practically make the effort to keep your eyes and your mind away from things
Is
that
it
would
possible?
trigger. It's very possible.
Is it possible?
Yes, it is. Why is it not?
We have agreed on that. It is very possible. We'll take a look at the second question for the day. Take a watch.
Hello, pastors. Please, my name is Said Hannah. Please, why is it important to dress well to church?
All right, so welcome back, and that's the next question. Why is it appropriate to dress well or decently before you go to church? I think it's very, very key, and it's a good one. So why is it necessary to dress, appropriately? And appropriate is relative.
Yeah.
But let's start off on this note. Where you are not born again or you are still a baby, should that be an issue at all in church, how you dress?
Okay, you see, I want us to separate being over-religious from being Christocentric or being Christ-minded people.
Okay, very well. Walk us through.
It's very quickly. Christ-mindedness is all about love and loving rightly. Okay, no condemnation, rebuke, reproach, but love. Do it in love. And so, when you do that in love, whoever is coming from a place where whatever they wear is fine, will start learning the culture and the practices of what you have taught him now, which is the love he has seen. So you cannot be over-religious about it. When it comes to dressing and getting to church and dressing well, you see, people come with all sorts of things because they think the church is a hospital, and hospital is for the sick, so that's all. But hear me carefully. It doesn't matter the suit you want to wear. You can't wear that to a construction site. You can't. It doesn't matter how much expensive it is. You can't. Don't go and stand on the golf pitch and say that I'm not going to wear Lacoste, I'm going to wear long sleeves.
But Daniel, there is a thin line. Before I go to Mark, there's a thin line where no condemnation, but you are saying at some point, rebuke.
It's necessary.
How do you draw the line? And because these are people who, again, would want to be accommodated, yet at some point you have to rebuke.
In love, boss.
How?
What you are doing,
right?
You are going straight to hell, and you are never going to make it.
But that's the truth.
Now, that's the thing.
Okay.
It's the truth.
Okay.
You are going straight to hell. But you see, you are talking to me, who is going straight to hell. I'm in hell already, dude. I am. Listen, but this same thing.
All right.
What you're doing is not good for you.
Right.
Jesus said, in spite of it all,
right,
he still loves you. Come closer. What you are fighting for, he will give to you. His love is evermore. His mercies are evermore. You see, it's the same thing you are telling.
Let's say you say that 1 year, the first year, second year. Would you keep saying that? That's like babysitting.
No, but there are two ways of bringing people to Christ.
Okay.
One way is like the Peter. Tell them, they believe, they follow. The other way is like the Paul. They need an encounter.
Okay. So,
exactly.
You pray that they get an encounter.
Once you are talking to them, you are still praying for an encounter. Nobody can talk about Jesus Christ more than the person who has encountered him. So I'm talking to you from an encountering perspective.
Okay.
But you have to encounter him yourself. So from that level, I don't come condemning. Who is it that condemned it except the one who went to the cross?
That's clear. I'll come back to that. Now, Mark, so here's the thing. If we allow you, you could corrupt others. And so I have to protect the other flock. And I need to be careful. You don't wear just anything. How then do you draw the lines and balance?
It's the point of reasoning. Everybody can be reasonable to a point.
Okay.
You know, you have to reason with the person. Let the person know why this is that and that is that. And something I would tell that such a person is, it is said that you are addressed the way you are dressed. You know, learning from the theater I'm in, if we want to depict a prostitute, if we want to depict a rich man, if we want to depict a madman, there are certain stereotypes, outlooks that there is, you know. So you ask the person, the way you are dressed, what do you think you are preaching out there about yourself? Because that is how people are going to address you at the end of the day. You reason with the person to know. Before probably you even come to other scriptures, 1 Timothy 2:9 and all that, how we need to dress ourselves in modesty and so on and so forth. But primarily, for me, it starts with reason. Let the person, number one, know that, listen, the way you are dressing will bring a form of address on you, and I will advise you to change and so on and so forth. With prayer, as he's also said.
Daniel, so here's the thing. The lady, the guy, or the lad or lady knows that we might not be able to wear that particular thing to an interview. But why would you wear it to church and think that we should babysit you?
You see, the thing is this. A lot of people are watching things and they are learning things and they're going with the whole accolade of come as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You see, you know that what I try to do as a man of God when it comes to people, I try to know where they are coming from. There was a girl who came to church some time on. Clearly, I'm telling you, clearly. You don't even need to be a church. I don't think even anywhere will accept it. I'm telling you, not even a church. Come on.
I see.
And I looked at her, and they put a cloth around her. When we closed, I called her, and I asked her, "What do you? How is your mom?" She said, "My mom is fine." And I said, "How does a mom dress?" And she says, "Oh, what I'm wearing. That's what my mom wears. Like, she steps out in bikini, she steps out in the so
Here in Ghana?
Yeah, in Ghana.
Oh,
this
no.
is where she's coming from.
Okay.
She goes for functions. Her mother goes for functions, and the mother is according to her, she's a pole dancer, a strip dancer. So this is where she's coming from. So someone like this is where she's been seen from birth. Don't just throw away the good. No. So from there, I told her, okay, now simple. When you wear to this place, I want you to escort me to the office of the president on Tuesday.
Okay.
So can you wear the same thing as good? I said, no.
So you see.
So he said the angle I took it from.
All right.
I said, why?
Okay.
He said, no, but I can wear this. I probably have to get some nice suits or some nice. I said, good. From now on, God is bigger than the president.
Okay.
Come to God more than how you want to go to the
I see.
president. And that was it.
So what it means is that we do recognize also that we need, even as unbelievers, if we need to begin to want to walk this particular path, we need to acknowledge that God is bigger than even the president
Exactly.
Yeah.
of any country,
Exactly.
Mark.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. And just to add to that also, we need to be very conscious. Listen, if a prostitute just got saved yesterday, her wardrobe is not changed yet.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Her heart is changed, her life is new, but her wardrobe will
is not
take time.
changed.
But a lot
So-
of these is also common sense.
That-
Where, I mean, look, whoever is in the world knows the other people who are on the other side.
To be honest,
Or you think I'm
to be
conjecturing?
honest and fair,
Right,
all
go
right.
ahead.
When I hated the church, so I had actually no plan for church. So when I got born again, really, what I was wearing to church wasn't like the church. The closest I could do was to get my big brother's clothes and shoes, which were way too big for me, anyhow. So we need to be sensitive in that respect also. But just as he cited in his example, approach the person, find out, reason with the person, and help out if you need to. Help change the person's wardrobe. I mean, the Bible says we shouldn't just love in word, but we should love in deed. So there's a lot more action that needs to be done from the loving and the reasoning and the education, sort of reorientation point of view, than the action of judging first. If we go with the judging first, it might not work well.
Exactly.
Do you think we should be preaching these particular things on the pulpit? Because I don't get to hear to say that whoever walks into this church and wears skimpy dresses, do not judge, bring them closer to God. I don't get to hear that more. You think it's a place we should do?
We say them, but
Okay.
it's the way we say them.
Okay.
People say them with anger.
Oh, they do?
Oh yeah, but most pastors say them with anger because they feel that you are disrespecting God by just coming there and doing all these things. But you see,
Of course
Or
you
better,
are.
the temptation is too much. They are really mad because when you come in with that dress and you're tempted, it's out of the frustration.
Yeah, it's frustrated about it. But you see, that is why God made you a shepherd. You see, you can only do this if you are a pastor.
Right.
Which if I want to go through that's the whole thing. But if you go with the prophetic mentality, or if you go with apostolic mentality, or the teaching mentality, you get angry and frustrated.
So, I mean, it's not the newcomers that need reorientation. Even we, behind the pulpit, on the pulpit,
Yes.
behind the lectern,
Yes.
we need some reorientation.
You know, like even now,
Right.
most pastors have gone with what Paul said about I had to be like dressed like
to the
them.
heathens, I was like,
Yes.
to the Greek, I was like the Greek,
Greeks
yeah,
and all
to
that.
this
You see,
also.
and so pastors go, but being like them to reach them doesn't mean there are people who have done it. And
Oh,
they
okay.
had-
I'm interested in that. We'll take a break at this point. When we come back, my guests are still here. Mark Chichogbe and, of course, Daniel DeLong are my guests. Remember, this is Just Ask. My name is Kokulmo. Stay with us. Welcome to Dominion TV. This is Just Ask. It's a platform that's created for you to ask all the questions. Well, before the break, we're discussing a lot of issues about inappropriate dressing to church, but of course it culminates to other issues, where you could corrupt. So I still have my guest here, Mark Achichobe and Daniel DeLong. They are here. Thank you very much for staying with us. Let's now veer somewhat into, if you like, where the issues now come from the pulpit. We're talking about reorientation of the mind, but where the pastor is engaging in immorality, that clearly cannot be said that he can say or rebuke or control those issues of inappropriate dressing, can he?
Oh, he can. There are two people behind the pulpit, a pastor and an actor. So we should know who we are dealing with here. So let's say we are dealing with the pastor. Pastors go through a lot. They deal with a lot of weaknesses, and sometimes because they are dealing with those weaknesses, they don't want to talk about or rebuke those things because he wants to deal with it first.
Indeed.
Clear all the negatives, and then he can come rebuking.
Right.
But there are some too, they have all the capacity within them that, okay, I'm dealing with this, and it's not something I intentionally do, so I am going to continue talking about it, rebuking you, so that you don't go into it, because he finds himself at a point that, Charlie, even as a pastor, what I have to deal with to even get out of this. If you get in, I don't know what I can do about it. So some pastors will go to the extent of telling you, but my problem is how they say it. Because the approach to some of these things takes some people off the church.
I see. But Daniel speaks about that, but the case really is about when the pastor still engages in it, unrepentantly continues to engage in it, and seeks to rebuke, to want to rebuke.
You see, there's weakness, and then there's the sin that easily entangles. That's weakness.
Okay.
And then there's secret pleasure.
All right.
Okay. In both cases, let me just have an example from football. When you are injured, you go off the pitch. You need to be treated. You come back when you are okay. If you're a ministry person in ministry, and for whatever reason your weakness is within issues of sexual immorality, you need to step back. It's a battlefield out there, and the enemy would always press home that advantage he has over you. So if you have that, you need to step back to heal. You need to step back. You need to go back to God, back to the Bible, get your fasting on, get some deliverance going, whatever the case is, to get yourself on before you come back on the field.
I see. Daniel, would you advise a pastor who engages in this, maybe impregnates a church member, and would come forward to want to confess and say, look, I've erred. I'm taking the back row and I'll be back. Would you advise a pastor to do such?
A pastor can do that, but you know the kind of sheep you have. You know the kind of sheep you have, then you know how to deal with them.
Should it not be about the kind of God you have?
The kind of God you have, you already know. And it is God you are going to. You're not going to man. And there are certain things you owe man no explanation.
Oh, really?
No.
Sure?
No, you don't owe him. You don't owe him. In fact, you don't owe anybody. The only person you owe to is God.
You're leading a flock.
That's what I'm saying. So the only person you owe to is God. So if there's a scattering of the sheep based on your act, then come and talk to them and gather them. But there are people who are doing it and the sheep are not even aware. And so when you come to that realization, like Mark has said, where this is eating me up, don't go messing up the sheep, because see, the ones who are there, who see you as this, as having a form of godliness, deal with it and God will still present you holy and acceptable to them. But if you come and just spill the milk there like that, I'm telling you, everybody can contain it. Somebody you understand? And it's not just about losing members, no, it's about souls. When it comes to church, it's not about members. No. Because I can have 1,000 members and it's only 20 that are saved. So it's not about members, it's about the souls. Yeah. So you need to work on it very well so that at the end of the day, you don't end up letting people jeer off their rightfulness and their walk with Christ. So that's how you know. So when you know your sheep, and then there are one or two people that you know that, okay, for me, for instance, Mark is a friend. And I know Mark for sure that if there's anything happening to me as a child of God spiritually, I need to deal with. If it's a physical immorality, and I come to Mark, I'm not going to hear it from anybody again.
I see.
And I come to Mark, I am not going to find a brother who's going to laugh at me. I'm going to find a brother who's going to pray with me, who's going to fast with me, who's going to pull me out of it. Such I will tell.
I see. But Mark, would you want to, is it a case that a lot of men of God present themselves as God instead of the man of God? That's why we get to maybe expect a lot from them for them to be extremely holy and perfect.
It's natural to expect a lot from a man of God. It's not just from the congregation, it's from the Bible. 1 Timothy 3 verse 1 says that if anyone desires to be an overseer, he desires a good thing. And then the first requirement, you must be blameless. Faultless. So the standard is high. James 3 says that teachers are going to be judged more strictly than every other. So it's not bad. We just need to balance, of course, the expectation and understand that they need to acknowledge the grace of the Lord by, number one, always giving props to grace. That I am what I am by the grace of God. I face what you face, and the struggle is real. But the grace of the Lord, the mercy of God, the faithfulness of His gift, when you begin to push Christ out like that, then you safeguard the expectations. Everybody understands, then people can relate with you.
Indeed.
But if you present yourself as a Superman, we'll leave it to fly alone because we can't fly.
I am by the grace of God, Kokulumo, and this is Just Ask. I love that particular one. Mark Achichogbe, of course. Daniel DeLong are my guest. This now links us to the next question. Let's take a watch.
Pastors, my name is Inaz. So there has been a question on my mind lately. So I wanted to ask, if money is good, why is football betting or gambling a problem or a sin?
All right, so that's our question. And if money is good, why is football betting and gambling bad? That's a big one. A controversial. A lot of young people are engaged in this. Well, they get money to feed. Some have genuine and germane concerns why they get into that. Why is it bad? Or is it bad? Let me save us. Is it bad, Daniel?
It's what bad?
The betting.
The betting.
The gambling.
Gambling. Yes.
It's bad.
Gambling is bad.
Why?
Because it's the love of money, which is the root of all evil. What makes people gamble is greed.
You sure?
Yes.
I need money. I've worked all I could.
No, that is not gambling.
Gone to jobs.
No, that is not gambling.
Then I then see an opportunity in betting.
No, that's not what you see.
Okay.
You think it's an opportunity. It's not. That's not what you see.
You sure?
No. What you see is what you actually see is going for what you have not worked for in a bigger form.
I've worked for it.
Work for
calculation.
what? How?
With a pen and paper. And my money.
That's a lazy man's work.
You sure?
Yes. See, let me tell you. When it comes to gambling, okay, let me or betting.
Okay.
Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Have you seen any person that you can point at? Pick 1,000 people betting. You can only pick one person who probably got something out of it. Why?
Where something means what?
Got money out of it. Out of 1,000 people.
Substantial cost.
Yes. Out of the 1,000 people, all of them, what they have put into betting, what they have won, is per ratio 10:1. And 10 being what they have lost. And 1 being what they won. I'm telling you. I'm not just talking. Even my cousin is betting. I know what they are facing.
Okay, I'll come back to Daniel. And when I'm coming back to him, there is a big question I'm going to hit him with, and I'll come back. Why would you say it's bad? And I think it's just about, okay, I need money. I don't have work. I've tried. Again, why?
So you make this right?
No, I'll come. So, Mark, why?
This is interesting. You know, gambling, lottery, betting are those things you won't necessarily find a direct Bible reference that says, thou shalt not gamble, thou shalt not bet, and all that. So, the way to judge this is to look at what is associated with, and then how it affects relationship with God, or the way God wants us to live. Needing money is natural in this world. We all will need money. Wanting money is something that will always happen. But you know, Proverbs 13:11 says that money that comes hastily dwindles away. But whoever gathers little by little, it will grow.
It will grow, exactly.
See, God has a way He wants us to live. He doesn't want us to chase after money. So in Matthew 6, He tells, I think 32, it says that pagans chased after these things And your Heavenly Father knows you need these things. But seek first the kingdom of God. So God wants us to live in a particular way, not to be led by the love of money, by greed for money, or even to allow our need to leave us to sort of desire these things and then go off, but to rely on Him. He is the one that gives us power to make wealth. But when we go to gambling, what we are doing is we're picking a different God, a different means, which is motivated mostly, like he said, by greed, more than even need. And then the things that are associated with gambling, there are prostitution associated with gambling, there's cheating, there's deceit. Every casino, there's deceit. You see the spirit, the atmosphere. It's not godly, you know. So don't think first about, is there a law against gambling? How does that affect? No. Think about, how does gambling affect my relationship with my Father? Is that how your Heavenly Father wants to provide for you?
I see. Daniel, forgive my chi, but I'm a pastor, and I said, me who be, and that particular one, you are going to win an American lottery. And that's from the pulpit. That's lottery. That's gambling. Is it right?
It's the first question is American lottery gambling?
I don't know.
That's what you have to
tell me. You tell me. Lottery, it has the name lottery.
Yes, but of course, it has the name lottery, I understand, but it's American lottery gambling. It's Canadian lottery gambling.
I don't know. You tell I really don't know.
We are randomly picking someone to come and stay in the United States of America with citizenship and everything.
They are randomly picking my numbers as well. When we go for Lotto.
Yes. So you put it there as gambling. That's what you want to say?
Yes!
No problem. I have no problem with that one. I don't do American lottery. So
okay.
I don't have a problem with that one. You understand? But here's the thing. God has said it. Which God? Sometimes you need to go to your Father. When I come and say, in all humility, Papa says, empty your account and give it to me to bring it to Him. Is He also not your Father? What stopped you from going to inquire from Papa? Papa, I heard this. I am ready to do it. Is that really you?
Right.
Let me say, oh yeah, I sent him. Okay, Papa, I'm doing it. Oh, I did not send him. Oh, okay.
So the bottom line is that gambling is wrong.
Morally is wrong.
But there's nothing written in the Bible.
No, but even morally is wrong.
So use your common sense to do that.
Yes, and the Bible speaks, you see, when it comes to how to relate to money, the Bible has a lot to say about that, how we relate to our needs. So that is where we pick the principles from. the God knows He can't prescribe a single law for every sinful practice, because the practice will evolve over time. So what He did was that He wrote laws and wrote the Bible to tackle the principles of matters. So the principle about needs, the principle of handling money, and anything that deals with these principles, the Bible speaks on it. So hence, the love of money, like it said, First Timothy 6:10, I think, is definitely the root of all evil.
How do we, the church is in a dispensation that is, again, greed, some of these vices. So how should the church tackle these? Because today, it's a worrisome situation, betting all across. Even people dressed like me are betting. And it's killing people. 800,000 Ghana cedis. There was this issue about an elder in the church. So you could see how deeply rooted and established it is even in the church.
Even what he said, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, the verse 9, before the 10, says that those who crave for money fall into temptation. You see?
Crave.
Crave.
Pierce themselves,
You crave for it. Leads you into temptation. So because my eye is not focused on the giver, but my eye is focused on the giving. I am craving for the giving and not paying attention to the giver. So a lot of people have moved away from the creator into the creation. And so at the end of the day, it's registered in your mind that at all cost, I have to be rich. And the society is pushing you. You are seeing your mates driving in the best cars. You are seeing people you were smarter and intelligent than doing all sorts of things. You don't know the source of their worth. You've not even asked. You don't know anything about it. But it keeps pushing you. And as soon as you create that space, the devil now hits it, and start painting pictures in your head, making you feel that, Jack, you are wasting time. You are wasting time. you're wasting time. And so you'll be pulling. That is why people move to the extent of, okay, if gambling is not working, let me go to money rituals. If money is not, let me go into fraud. And all manner, and they'll tell you fraud is taken back from what they took from us. Master is fraud. And so a whole lot of things push into it, and it's the cravings for it that causes people. Why would somebody drive from Accra? I had somebody who drove from Accra, not just once, not just twice, countless times, Accra to Nkoko to eat omutu.
How is that?
On Sunday. How is that? Be there. That's what cravings that.
Really?
Yes. It got to a time of my life, it doesn't matter where I go in Kumasi, I need to find confidence restaurants and go into Banku and Cutting Kwai. That's what cravings does.
I see. So what it means is that as a church, that's a bit spiritual. Because if it goes to an extent of traveling just to go and eat, it's spiritual.
That's what cravings that's what cravings do to people, and that's what is happening to people who are gambling. For a start, it's nothing. Let me just do. Let me just try. And you see that these are the devil is smart. When you go and try, you win.
Of course, you need that. That's
the devil needs exactly to get. Come on, let's do it. People go to the extent of selling their cars to go and bet.
So then the question, how do we deal with it? Should we keep talking and praying? Mark?
I think the awareness needs to be, most people shy away, most Christians shy away from talking about betting, because it's really, it's a power now. It's a huge thing among the youth, and we need to talk about it and let them understand that it does not foster trust in God primarily, because it's motivated by the love of money, So we need to talk about it and let people understand that don't be so concerned about what law does it break. Be concerned about how does it affect how your father wants to relate? Is that how your father wants to provide for you? Do you feel the spirit pulling you when you go into these things? What are the atmosphere that you are in? And if people be honest themselves, you will see where your motivation really is. It's not for good works, it's just for yourself.
Is there a good time to want to see your pastor one day, maybe with a screen in church? Try to do the calculation, start with the physical first, and then zoom into the spiritual and the moral aspect of not betting. Is it a good time?
Exactly. It should be, because statistics are there. Primarily, many people who have even won millions of dollars have totally wasted it.
Right.
Confirming.
So we should look for those people, come to church,
those studies,
make it more real.
Yes.
The message, because a lot more people who have come, yes, as much as they might listen to you, your level now is high. 2 years, 3 years in the church is still struggling with things. Even people who have spent 11 years, 20 years. So would you want a message that becomes more real to the people rather than the abstract one? I saw, that kind of thing.
One major thing that we need to do as a church is we should realize that apart from the pastor, anybody around the pastor is still seen as a mentor by someone. And these mentors have mentored people in ways that they don't even know that they are mentoring them. Because most of the ways they mentor them are not too physical, so they don't see it that, okay, this guy has now changed from the way they dress because of the way I dress. They don't see it that way. But you see, you are closer to the pastor, and yet you are sharing odds of betting. And so I don't know, I feel that if you are sharing odds and the pastor has not spoken about it, that means the pastor is in support of it. Meanwhile, maybe the pastor does not even know. So we need to teach it from the altar, from our end, before it even descends to the baby. When we bring it into the babies, have it, because if the baby there realizes that I'm wearing a babe, and the person supposed to be the elder one is also wearing a babe, then who is teaching who? But if I see them wearing aprons and I'm in a babe, then I want to urge to also start wearing an apron and not be in the babe as a baby. And so we need to get to that point where we grow it gradually from one place to the other and teach it, and you see, play with it. I don't know, probably because I'm an actor and a theater person.
But so it has to come in at some point.
Play with it. I don't know, the person will know that, we've played with it, we laughed about it.
But there's something.
Is the church is a hospital? Let's take it there.
Let me take this platform, 10 seconds on this to say the church needs to begin to teach how we can practice Christianity in every practical context of our life. Right. We've made ourselves too heavily minded, too spiritually centered to be of any good to our earthly being here. You know, the struggles that people face in and day out, we need to let people know exactly how do I live it. Right. You know, I come to church and I receive it, and then I shout it, and I shout it, amen. But when I go back,
then what?
For those of you who also have questions, please drop it on our socials. I've mentioned it already. Facebook, Dominion Television. My Dominion TV is on Twitter or Instagram. Let's now take your final words by way of some advice, admonition, and all of that. Let me start off with you, Daniel.
Well,
all the issues we've discussed.
All the issues. Well, all I want to tell people is most of the time, most of the things that we find ourselves doing are not clear-cut things written in the Bible for us not to do it. But God, in His own wisdom, has put it there in either ways for you to know that this is not right with Him. And it should always be about what I'm doing. Is it right with God? It can be right with men. It can be right with you. But the question is it right with God? Because at the end of the day, whatever you need is not coming from men. It's not coming from you. It's coming from God. So if what I need is coming from Him and what I'm doing is not right with Him, then where am I going? Because when it comes to Him, it's about obedience. It's about principles. So you make sure that you fall in line with all these things, and at the end of the day, you will definitely get to the point.
Mark?
Well, I would say Jesus. You know, in Romans 8, 28 and 29, we learn that in all things, God works together for our good. And the essence of that is in verse 29, because He predestined us to conform to the character, the image, the likeness of His Son. Listen, the end goal of your Christian life is to become like Jesus. You are called a Christian for a reason. And Jesus was not a metaphorical person that came to live. He's an actual person who lived in an actual world, faced the actual temptations we are facing. And when we can consider our lives to be modeled after Him, His words, His claims, and what He taught us, life, or this Christian life, can be practical and victorious enough for us.
That's exciting. Gentlemen, it's been a wonderful time. I learned, truthful. I learned a lot. And of course, a lot of you who have been watching, I'm too sure you share the same testimony. Mark Achichogbe, and of course, Daniel Kojo DeLong were my guests for this particular episode. Stay with us. Remember to continue this conversation on our socials. Share what you think. If you feel you disagreed with any of them, practically or biblically, drop it on our socials. My Dominion TV on Twitter and on Instagram. Dominion Television on Facebook. Remember, this has been Just Ask and is on Dominion TV. Be good, smile always. This is Just Ask. My name is Kokulumo. I'll see you soon.